What's going on, friends? Yuri here, and today I'm gonna open up a new series I'm gonna be launching, which is I'm calling this Winning Wednesdays. Hashtag no excuses, hashtag unfiltered. And the purpose of these sessions is really to go deep into the mindset, the habits, the character traits of what it takes to win in business and in life. And I want to put this together because, to be honest, this is the biggest thing that I see holds people back, is their mindset, is the limiting beliefs they have, is the nonsense they tell themselves about why stuff can or cannot work. And so every Wednesday, I'm going to bring to you a little bit more of a raw, unfiltered, less produced type of session like this. And I'm just going to be very real. I'm going to be unfiltered. I'm going to drop some F-bombs here and there. I'm just going to call it like it is. And I think a lot of you guys appreciate the fact that I'm a no BS straight shooter. And this is exactly what it's like if I were to coach you. Because the reality is that most people don't win in life. Let's just call it what it is. If you're a professional sports team, one wins the league. Everyone else is behind that. And so in today's episode, what I want to share with you is this idea of quitting and why quitters never win. And I want to share something that Pep Guardiola, who's one of my favorite coaches, he coaches Manchester City, formerly coached Bayern Munich, formerly coached FC Barcelona. He's one of the best coaches on the planet when it comes to soccer. And I was listening to an interview with him recently, and he talked about how success is the exception. He said it's not, like, if you look at a lot of sports teams or athletes in general, success is the exception. It's not the norm. Most teams, most people don't win. And like winning is just like this exceptional event that happens. And I think it's a great reminder that in business especially, you're not going to win most of the time. But here's the reframe, is that quitters look at business and life as black or white. They're either winning or they quit. And this is why I want to share this with you today, because the way I see this is that you're either winning or you're learning. So if you win, for instance, if you hit the goal you want to achieve, we'll call that winning. If you don't, how a lot of people frame that is, I'm losing, and therefore they stop. What I want to suggest to you is that it's not about I'm losing, it's I'm learning. I've shared, some of the struggles I've had in my life and my business. I'm going to share many of them with you in this series. I've had easily 100 times more failures and shortcomings in my 20 years in business than wins. It's like, if I were to side by side stack them, it wouldn't even be comparable. Like, it would be like 100 to 1 failures to wins, just being very honest with you. If I were to document and just, off the top of my head, think about the big wins, business-wise, maybe 5, maybe. But in terms of big failures, like hundreds. But here's the thing, is that the only reason I'm here, I'm still in this game of being in business and obviously helping other business owners grow their businesses, is because I just never stopped. And I'm not a special snowflake by any means. I want you to remember that. I'm not genetically gifted. There are a lot of moments where I'm like, fuck this, I'm done, but I keep going. And I'm going to share some of the mindsets that I've had that have helped me go through this, and hopefully they serve you as well, and contrast that with some of the quitters that I've seen over the years and what really separates them, and not in a good way. I think for me, progress is the most important thing. I don't know about you, but I hate sitting in traffic. I can't stand sitting in traffic because when I think about it, I'm not moving forward. I'm not making forward progress. I don't know if you can relate to that. And I think the same happens in business. The same happens in physical fitness. The same happens in any aspect of life. Is happiness comes from progress. So if I'm working out and I'm seeing progress, that's most important. Like, I'm not looking for an overnight transformation. I realized that it's going to take a bit of a journey. So when I started working out with my trainer a number of months ago, I'd say about 2.5, 3 months in, he mentioned to me, he's like, hey man, cause I was saying I'm like, dude, I can't fit into my polos anymore. Like my polo shirts, the buttons all fucked up and stuff. And it's cause I've broadened my shoulders and my chest. And I didn't realize that until I tried the shirt on. And I was like, because when you're in the trenches every day, you don't see the progress unless you're very astute to documenting those small wins on a daily basis, which is actually a very good practice to build into your life. But when it comes to physical transformation, it's I remember when I was playing soccer in France and I came home for Christmas break and I got together with some friends and they're like, dude, what have you been doing, man? Your traps, your shoulders are just much bigger than I remember because they hadn't seen me for about 5 months. And for me, I'm like, I don't know, just because I see myself in the mirror every day, I'm just thinking there's no difference because you see it all the time. But 5 months later, it's like, holy shit, what have you been doing? And I was like, actually, you know what? I've been doing a lot more powerlifting. And it's like, yeah, okay, well, all that stuff makes sense. So the idea here is that if we're making forward progress, I think that's the most important thing to be acknowledging and really, like, if that's the wind that we attach our sail to, it's forward progress. And here's why I think quitters quit is because they look at, I have to hit this goal or it's over. And they don't consider the small progress they're making because they don't even acknowledge it. So my beef with quitters is that there's way too many of them. And I'm gonna share some stuff in this series that's gonna be very opinionated. And if you don't like it, I don't care. I'm just gonna be honest. Because I have zero room in my energetic field for stories, excuses, bullshit that doesn't serve you. And that the same goes for my clients, right? The same goes for if I'm listening to the story about how someone really wants to achieve a goal, but X, Y, Z is holding them back. I'm like, you don't want the thing. You don't want the goal. So shut the fuck up and stop talking about it. Otherwise, you would plow through a brick wall. So either you don't really want it or you do, and let's make it happen. So like, I'll give you an example. And this is gonna be very applicable for you and your business and your clients. For everyone who gives you a story about why they can't do something, recognize that there are 1,000 times more people who have that same story who are doing something with it. So I see this all the time. I get people messaging me on Instagram or whatever, and they're like, hey man, like I really want to grow my business, but like life is tough now. I've got the kids and this. And I'm just like, violin. I'm like, I don't give a shit. You don't care. Because for that story, I'm thinking of this client, Amanda, who's got 5 clients and who's built a $120 million business. So how is she different? The reason that she's different is because she just made it a must. That's it. So whatever you're talking about is just nonsense. Stop talking. And some people don't have the gall to take that. They see that as abrasive and, you don't have compassion and empathy. And there's some truth to that. Like I have compassion in a different way than some people have compassion. I truly, truly care about helping people, which is why I get really pissed off when their stories hold them back. So I don't buy into the sob stories because I'm like, it doesn't serve you. So me buying into your story, you selling me your story about why you can't do something doesn't help you. And therefore, I would rather you tell a different story so you actually get helped, which is what I'm here to do, right? And I've noticed a lot of my friends, also high-performing coaches, they don't really they have a very low tolerance for this type of nonsense because they realize that these stories are just stories. And these are stories that hold us back in life and anything we want to do. So as a coach, as someone who fundamentally cares about helping people become the best versions of themselves, I'm not going to buy that, it's okay. Like, yeah, you're right. The weather's cold. That's a great reason why you shouldn't do this. No, it's you don't want it badly enough, so let's just stop talking about it. So the difference between quitters and winners is that quitters are always looking for convenience. They have to have everything perfectly lined up or it just doesn't make sense. And winners find a way to do it no matter what. Quitters stop when the going gets tough. Winners understand that it's going to be tough and they're like, cool, we're just going to keep going through because I value being a better version of myself. I value growing. I'm not expecting this to be easy, but I understand that on the outside of this, on the other side of this, it's going to be worth it. Winners also understand that there is no finish line, that it never stops. I was talking to a buddy of mine and I hadn't seen him for 3 years. Great guy. And he was talking about the fact that he just hired a trainer. And he was like, hey man, what type of timeline should I give this? And I'm like, give it forever. Why would you want to put a cap on you working with a trainer if your health is, let's say, your number one priority? Why would you put a cap on, I'm going to give this 3 months? I just said, if this is the number one priority for you, just give it forever. I can't even imagine. It's funny, actually. It's hard for me to imagine how long it took me to actually hire a trainer. It's ridiculous, even though I've got a gym in my house, whatever. But I don't even consider canceling that because the value of what that provides me is invaluable. So I said, listen, there's no finish line when it comes to your physical fitness. If your goal is to become fitter every single year than the previous one, why would you ever want to stop? And so I think winners have this mentality of, cool, I set these goals because remember, without a goal, you can't score. So we have to make sure that we have these milestones and goals that we're working towards. But the other thing that I've noticed about winners is they are relentless and they're never satisfied. It's they hit it, they achieve a milestone or they achieve a goal, and then right away they're on to the next one. And there's this like inability to slow down and like appreciate it all. And I'm definitely one of those. So like when we've done our live events, Health Runner Live, actually, by the way, after 3 years, Health Runner Live is back, September 21st to 24th. If you want to join us, we only have 40 spots available. If you're not a client of ours, you can go to healthpreneurgroup.com/live to get your ticket. Only 40 spots available. If you want to hang out with me in person and 250 other amazing health professionals, our whole team in a 3-day live experience that is unlike anything you've ever experienced before, then don't fuck around, just get there. healthpreneurgroup.com/live. And again, that's September 21st to 24th in Scottsdale, Arizona. Actually, on that note, I remember when we first started doing the event, let's talk about quitters here, right? And the reasons that people don't do shit in life. So a number of years ago when we did, I think it was like our first or second event. And I remember speaking to someone who was in Atlanta, Georgia, which is only what, 2.5 hour flight from there to Scottsdale, Phoenix. And they told me like, I'd love to come if it were closer. And I'm like, you're a fucking loser. Stop talking. Because this is an example of why people lose in life. They're looking for convenience. It's not convenient enough. It's not warm enough outside. It's not perfect enough. I'm only going to get started or do things when it's perfect. Just don't even bother. Just call it a day. And I know this sounds very bleak for some of you, but the reality, and you know, as much as I want to help people become the best versions of themselves, and I fully believe that the right people can, there's a far greater percentage of the population that will never move out of where they are. And that's why there's always going to be disparity on this planet, right? There's always going to be disparity of income. There's always going to be disparity of health. There's always going to be a disparity of access to resources. That's never going to change. There's never going to be a time, at least while I'm alive, I don't believe, where everyone's going to be on an equal playing field. It's just not going to happen. And the reason for that is the fundamental wiring of winners versus quitters, winners versus losers, winners versus whiners. And that's the whole purpose of this series that I'm going to be publishing on Wednesdays, which is really just helping you think like a winner. And remember, when I say winning, it's not at the expense of other people losing. Winning means you win and someone else wins, or collectively everyone wins, right? It's not a zero-sum game where you're taking advantage of someone else, because I believe the better you get, the better you make other people around you. The better you get, as in terms of, let's say, business, you get better in business because you are helping more people. If you are struggling in business, you're not helping anyone, including yourself. And so looking at winning as not this like zero-sum game, or I win and you lose, or I got to the finish line, now I'm done, but it's this mentality of this never-ending desire for improvements, this whole Kaizen approach, as the Japanese talk about, right? Never-ending improvement, getting 1% better every single day, which comes back to this whole idea of progress, not perfection. It's progress, not I won or I lost. If you've played sports in your life, I'm sure there are many opportunities that you can think about, or occasions that you can think about where, I'll just give you an example. So I remember one specific game. So I was playing at the University of Toronto. This is my 3rd year, and we had the best team. Out of the 4 years I was there, this was the best team that we had. And we were playing a semifinal game of our province or state championship if you're in the States. And the winner of this game was going to go to nationals, regardless of what happened in the finals of the state province championship next. And I had a game as a goalkeeper where I was standing on my head. Like, it was, I don't think I've played like that in recent, like, that I could think of outside of that game. Like, it was ridiculous. We're playing Laurier University, or Wilfrid Laurier, and it was just such a phenomenal game. Like, they're the top team in the country. You know, we were pretty close. Anyways, the game was 1-1, and I'm like, cool, we're going to go to extra time. And if we go to extra time, you know, we could probably wait this out and go to penalty shots. Penalty shots were my like forte. I think I only lost like 1 or 2 shootouts in my life. So I was like super stoked about this until the last kick of the second extra time. So after 90 minutes, you know, 15-minute half, and then another 15-minute half, the last kick of that second 15-minute half, their striker strikes the ball off the crossbar post junction. I dive, obviously I can't get that. Ball bounces right back into the 6-yard box. They head it in and win the whole thing. It was demoralizing. Like, it was one of the worst feelings I've ever had in my life. But I also remember walking off that field, in spite of losing, feeling really good, because I'm like, dude, I mean, I stood on my head. There's nothing else I could have done differently in this game. I gave everything I possibly could. So I felt like a winner, even though the outcome was a loss. Now, what was interesting as well is that 4 of us from that team made the first team All-Canadian team, which is kind of like the first team All-American in the States. And we were invited to go to the national championships. We were the only 4 players that were not on a team at the national championships, which tells you a little bit about the quality of our team, and perhaps we should have been there. But again, sometimes you get knocked out. And I remember we went to the hotel and Laurier was checking in just after we got there. And they saw me in the lobby and they're like, fuck, Nightmare is here. They had nicknamed me Nightmare because apparently they couldn't score on me except for obviously those 2 goals they did in the game. And I was like, that's interesting. Because you never know how people perceive you and whatever. So anyways, I just shared that because I thought that was an interesting example of sometimes you win even though you lose. Now, there are many other examples of, let's look at an example like Nick Kyrgios. If you follow tennis, I think he's a phenomenal tennis player. I think he's also a bit of a loser because and again, if you don't follow tennis, this might not make a lot of sense to you. You have someone who is arguably more skilled than most of their tennis players. He has beat the top 5 tennis players more than anyone else. So the Federers, the Nadals, the Djokovic's. He had a winning record against those guys more than any other tennis player. And here's a guy who at his best, Nick Kyrgios, was, I think, at the highest of his rankings was in the top 10. But he would just flake off and be like ranked 76. He would party, drink, do drugs. He went through a really, really hard time. And he gives a lot of this stuff to the fact that he had a tough upbringing, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, everyone has a tough upbringing. Fucking get over it. So anyways, I think what's interesting about Nick and his story, if you watch there's a series on Netflix called Breakpoint, and it's it documents the tennis from 2022. So that whole year, that whole season, you can get a better insight into what I'm sharing here if you're into tennis. And so he's never really taken tennis seriously. And a lot of the conversation around that is because if he doesn't take it seriously and he loses, what does that say about him? That he didn't take it seriously. But if he didn't take it seriously and he still lost, then that would be a major blow to his ego because now he gave everything he possibly could have and he lost. And maybe at some level, he can't live with that. And I think this is a fundamental difference between winners and losers is I don't consider Nick Kyrgios to be a good role model of a winner because he doesn't go all in. He doesn't practice. He doesn't train. And then he just shows up, and if he loses, no big deal. But if he were to show up and go all in, what if he were to fail? All of a sudden now, he might think of himself as a failure. But the reality is that the failures in life are those who don't even try to begin with. It's those people who say, I'm just going to dip my toe in the water, while the winners are like, fuck it, I'm diving in. It's the quitters and losers in life who say, well, if I can't swim, I'll just kind of swim back to shore. The winners in life say, no. If I can't swim, I'm going to find a way to swim. And this is the fundamental difference is that winners always find a way to win. And one of the things that I can share with you from having been in business for close to 20 years, and I've helped more than 1,300 business owners, quote unquote entrepreneurs, some of them more so than others, over the past 7 years, build their businesses online, is that the hard reality that I've realized is it's very hard to turn a loser into a winner. And great coaches don't look to do that. And my problem, the challenge that I had for a very, very long time was why I wanted to save people. And the reality is that the people who need your help the most want it the least. There's no one for you to save. What you need to do is you have to find the winners and you have to give them a better vehicle, which is working with you if you're a coach. Harvard University. Do you know what their graduation rate is? If you don't, it's 98%. That means 98% of the 98% of people who start Harvard graduate. University of Toronto, where I went to school, one of the top 20 schools in the world. Their downtown campus, which is their pedigree, if you will, 80% graduation rates. Their Mississauga campus, which is outside the city, a little bit lower standard, they have a 40% graduation rate. So what's the difference between Harvard at 98%, University of Toronto downtown campus at 80%, and Mississauga campus at 40%? The difference is that who they allow to come into the school in the first place. Harvard doesn't turn losers into winners. They simply identify winners and they provide them a better track to where they want to go. So they become talent scouts. Whereas University of Toronto Mississauga campus has a much lower standard for entrance, lower GPA, etc. And so they kind of let anyone in. And as a result of that, it doesn't matter what that person goes through. They just don't fundamentally have the right mentality or mindset or character traits to become successful, at least in that short term of 4 years. And this is the one thing that has taken me the longest amount of time to really hammer home and really understand, is that some people just don't have what it takes to win. Now, it doesn't mean that they can't change, but it's up to them. Because the reality is that if they don't want to change, there is nothing you can do. And now here's a telltale sign of loser talk. If you are speaking with clients and they come to you and they say, I've done a bunch of stuff in the past that hasn't worked, what does that tell you about them? Because let's just think about this for a second. You've done all the diets and the workouts. Would it be reasonable to think that none of them work? Like, do you really think that if you changed your diet, you wouldn't lose weight and keep it off? Do you really think that if you worked out 3-4 times a week, that wouldn't help you? Or is it more reasonable to think that maybe there's a common factor in all of these different scenarios? And that common factor is you, my friend, right? Like the saying goes, no matter where you go, there you are. It's the same thing. So if you're speaking with a prospect, again, assuming you're running a coaching business, and they come in and they're talking about how they got scammed, how this thing didn't work out, how that didn't work out, how that didn't work out, how that didn't work out, you better believe that's a warning sign. Because what makes you think that all of a sudden they're going to be a winner working with you? And when people come to us and they're like, well, I really need to see like other people and what other people like me have done with your help. I'm like, dude, you're fucking done. What do they have to do with your results? Nothing. Can you imagine going to school and being like, you know what? I'm only gonna enroll in this $300,000 program if I see other people's grades first. Says no one ever. And then you go in and drop 300 grand. I'm talking about like continuing ed if you're, a medical professional, whatever. Yet everyone goes through the same class, same professor. Does everyone get the same grade? No. What's the difference? Each individual student. And the sooner you can understand that your results are 100% on you, the sooner you'll do better in life. But when I hear people say, I need to see, I had some person email me DM me on Instagram yesterday. It was like, hey, I'm a chiropractor. I'd like to see all your other clients who are chiropractors. I'm like, okay, let me take the rest of my afternoon to give you a whole list of who they are and all their assets. And I'm like, so my answer was this, I'm like, why? And so this person said, so I can see what their offers are like. And my question was, why? And then he's like, okay, never mind. I'm like, good, never mind, ciao. Because we're never gonna work together because you don't have the right mentality. The mentality of like, I need to see what other people are doing first to give me certainty that I can also succeed, AKA loser speak. Now, if you want to be a winner in life, it doesn't matter what anyone else does. I've alluded to this before. One of our clients, Kevin, who's a tremendous human, he came in to work with us in the beginning of 2019, and he sent me a message. I don't even know how it started. He's like, hey man, I'd love to work with you guys. And we just had a quick chat, and I was like, cool, where are you at? And he's like, I'm doing about $800 a month. I'm like, I'll be honest, man, you're pretty early for us to take on. Like, we don't work with beginners. If you have no track record, it's never gonna happen, okay? Just a heads up. So I said, I think you're a little bit early. And he said, no, watch me. I was like, I like that response. Let's see. A year and a half later, he goes from that to doing $1.5 million in his business. So what's the difference? He had the same plan as all of our other clients. He had the same coaching as all of our other clients. And I'm not saying that all of our other clients don't succeed. Obviously they do, but some don't, right? Let's just be honest. But he just went nuts, right, with his growth from like literally nothing to, $1 million in 18 months. So what is it about him? Well, let's look. He has a bit of a track record of some pretty awesome stuff. He was a former Marine, check. Led a platoon, right, overseas. That's always a good thing. He was a top pharmaceutical sales rep way back in the day. Check, right? As opposed to had he come in with just failure, quitter, etc., there's no way he would have seen the results he saw. And that's because of who he is. And the sooner you understand this, the sooner you will unlock everything you want in life. I've enrolled in a number of different coaching programs. I didn't for the first 3 years of my business, 2006 to 2009, which is why I struggled with poverty line income because I was a fucking idiot thinking I could figure this stuff out myself. You're not going to, Yuri. So eventually, I hired my first coach in 2010. And since that time, I've invested more than $1.1 million in coaching, masterminds, mentorship, etc. Never once never once in that journey did I ever ask any of them, well, I'd like to see what your other clients are doing, because I don't give a shit what other people are doing. In fact, I want to do the complete opposite. When people are driving out of the city for like a long weekend, I'm staying put. When they're leaving on March break vacation, I'm staying at home. When they come back, that's when I'm leaving. I want to do the opposite of what everyone does, because what everyone does is mediocre. And if you want to be a winner in life, you got to start thinking for yourself and kind of like doing your own thing. And what I mean by that is, if you think that other people's results or lack thereof are going to be a reflection of what's possible for you, then that's all I need to know. That's it. I never want to work with you. I shouldn't say never, but I have a good understanding of your mentality versus someone who comes in and says, yep, I resonate with your philosophy. This system, this process makes sense. I see the value in doing this. I could care less what your other clients have done. You've been in business for a long time. You've helped thousands of clients. You must be pretty good at what you do. I know, and I'm just kind of speaking from a fictitious client's perspective. I know that with this type of help, I can crush it because I believe in myself. I understand that I might not have the answers now, but I will figure them out. This is the difference. I'll share one more story with you. I share this stuff not to pitch our coaching. Like I could give a shit, right? I share this with you because there are clients of ours and I can tell right away that they're going to crush it. And then there are those who take a little more time and they go through a transition. To be honest, I love the growth that our clients go through personally. When a person comes in to work with us and who they become at the end of 12 months is a fundamentally different person for the better. It's amazing. Most of our clients stay with us for 2, 3, 4 years because of the community and the growth that they experience with our help. So one of our clients, Ryan, he started with us at the end of 2019. He's a chiropractor, had a functional medicine designation as well. They didn't know what to do online, right? They didn't have certainty about what they were going to do, but he knew he had to do something because their clinic in person was struggling. He had a family of 6. This is before COVID, by the way. Okay, so we didn't even know that was happening yet. So this is November 2019. And he was at a point where he took out a $40,000 loan just to stay afloat. And then he came across our stuff. And he's like, I need to do this. With what certainty? No certainty other than in himself and in our process. Somehow, but did he know for sure? No, because he saw our stuff, and at some level you can either be skeptical or you can believe, or somewhere in between. So here he is, he had taken out a $40,000 loan, and then he's like coming across our stuff. He's like, okay, I'm going to take a percentage of this and put it into here, because what he focused on was the payoff, not the price. And so what was able to happen in the space of 3 months? Well, I'll share that for you in a second. The first post he posted in our Facebook group was celebrating the fact that he was negative $14,000 in the hole in his Facebook ads. So he had invested $14,000 in Facebook ads and he was celebrating the fact that he was in the red. And then PS, I've got 300 and some odd calls in the calendar booked for the next couple of weeks. And now's the difference. When I saw that post, I'm like, this guy gets it. He gets it, and they're going to just go crazy. And they did. So from that point, 3 months later, so they went from 0, 3 months later, doing $358,000 per month. They've now built the largest thyroid coaching program on the planet. They do more than about $5 million a month, right? And is it because of our system? I mean, yeah, the vehicle's there, but is it because of like me? No. Is it because of our coaching team? No. All that stuff is helpful, but it's because of who he is. And this is the core message that I hope you understand from this, is that you hold the key to everything in your life. If you fail or if you win, it's on you. And the sooner you can look in the mirror and understand that who you're looking at is responsible for everything, the sooner you'll have a lot more fulfillment and a lot more success in life. The more you point fingers at other people and other things that, didn't work out for you, the more you give them your power, the more you lose your power. Because now if you give other people your power, like it's on them, that's called being a victim, by the way, you have no power to change. Because if you think it was out of your control, then how can you control the situation in the future? You can't. Versus winners, always understand that it's on them. And because they take responsibility for it, they have control over changing it. And again, the sooner you can understand this shift, the sooner you will start winning in life. But the more you look for everything to be perfect, the more you look for 100% certainty before you start anything, the more you give up because things are not convenient or not comfortable. The more you do that stuff, and maybe if you're doing it right now, the more you continue doing it, the more you will struggle in life. And you have to be honest with yourself because your life is not that great. I'm just going to be very honest with you, okay? If you are not where you want to be in your life, you got to be really fucking disgusted with that. And if that doesn't feel good to you, I don't care. I'm not here to make you feel good. I'm here to help you change. I live a very blessed life, but none of it was given to me. I worked my ass off and I continue to work my ass off. Am I satisfied with where I am? No, I'm never satisfied. I'm very grateful for what I have, what I've experienced, what I've built, but I never look backwards. Never. It's always what's next, what's next, what's next. And I was actually having a conversation with my mom and she was over on the weekend. She's like, yeah, my best years were from 18 to 22. I'm like, how do you say that? How do you get up in the morning with that mindset? I don't even think about what happened yesterday. I'm not even thinking about the fact that I played pro soccer or that I was a New York Times bestseller. I don't even give a shit. All that stuff is irrelevant. Every single day I wake up, every single day you wake up, clean slate. You got to earn your stripes. You have to earn what it is you want. And when you take that radical ownership type of mentality, everything changes. So anyways, that's all for today's episode. I just want to share some thoughts, some of the differences between what I feel are the big ones between winners and quitters. If you like this kind of stuff, let me know in the comments below. Remember to subscribe to this channel. If you're listening to this on the podcast, do all the stuff like whatever. Leave a rating, leave a review. I don't even give a shit, to be honest. I just need to share this information. I appreciate you taking the time and listening or watching. At some level, it means that this message is resonating with you. And if you like this kind of stuff, let me know in the comments. I will definitely be creating more of this. Again, Winning Wednesdays, it's unfiltered, no excuses. I'm just going to give it to you like I see it, and hopefully you can take it.